Hey everyone, welcome back to Perfectly Holistic's Holistic Cat Care Live Q&A with me. I am Pam Roussel with Perfectly Holistic, and I am excited to be back again and support amazing cat parents who want to learn how to use a more holistic approach for their cats, whatever it is you're going through, whether that's emotional, spiritual, or even physical stuff. So as you guys are hopping into the chats today, definitely let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're from. I love to acknowledge all of you as best as I can. And we are going to be here to answer your questions today. So be thinking about any questions that you have, anything that you might be struggling with your kitty. And let's throw some ways to help you out there. I am on Instagram tonight, so I wanted to just let you guys know I can see your comments. So if you are able to join us, hop on over and come on in. Let us know that you are here. Give me a wave. I'll wave back at you. And I'm excited to be back with you guys. I cannot believe it's April, but happy April. Here we are. And if I had to guess, if there was one thing that your cat might be struggling with right now, it might be seasonal allergies. So if that is something that's kind of on your radar, definitely drop a thumbs up or something in the comments, because I'm happy to answer questions about how to support your cats during seasonal allergies. Let's help give them some relief. And again, it's always important to know why your cat is struggling with an immune system issue. So that's like one of the most important questions you can ask, besides what can I do to help support them and manage these symptoms. So don't forget to go back and figure out why their immune system is stressed to begin with. And it's not allergies. It's something deeper than that. It typically has to do with some kind of a gut issue. And so what contributes to gut health issues? That can be diet. It can be toxins. It can be things like mold. It can be previous vaccines, even if they were given 10, 15 years ago. That set the ball rolling many years ago to disrupt the balance in the body. So those are some of the things you can start thinking about. What is behind the actual struggle? Okay. And then when cats have a compromised or weak immune system, they simply don't have the ability to monitor a normal histamine response. So you can see histamine levels just go way out of balance. What that can look like is a lot of allergy symptoms, a lot of mucus. They have a lot of drainage. And if you see your cat swallowing, like just in a big way, it's very apparent that they're swallowing something hard. It's probably postnasal drip. I would equate it to that for us. So a lot of drainage, a lot of postnasal stuff. And again, this is just because the body is producing an excess amount of histamine as in response to some kind of a stress in the environment. So right now, what I see a lot of are weeds, dandelion specifically, dandelion, ragweed, red clover. Grasses are very prevalent around the country and all over the place. And then specific trees, I'm seeing a lot of like oak, pecan, walnut, and depending on where you live, some are more prevalent than others, and some, just like anywhere, you have some tree species that are more prevalent in some areas. But remember, even if your area doesn't have a lot of oak is blooming everywhere, and it has been for a couple of weeks now. So the wind picks up these molecules and carries them across the country. So don't be surprised if oak might be contributing to some histamine issues in your cat, even if you don't have oak trees in your yard or your neighborhood. So it's in the air. And I also want to just remind you guys that even for cats who live indoors, we um, we live in an environment. Our houses are built where we have fresh air intake, and so every time, like that's for your HVAC system, right? So it's important to make sure you are changing those air filters on a regular basis, like every 90 days, in some places maybe even more frequently. Get the super ultra high HEPA, numbers. Those typically cost more, but they do a better job of trapping those little molecules and pollens and things like that. So that's one thing that you can do. You can also run an air purifier in addition to changing your filters on a more frequent basis. Remember that every time you open the door to go in and out of the house, or if you have a window open, those molecules blow in. And if you are outside, guess what? They get on your clothing and they get on you, whether you are reactive or not. So you come into your house and you start doing your thing and petting your cat, and they get exposed to that stuff. It's life, right? We don't live in a bubble. We can't protect ourselves or our cats from all of these pollens and things like that. So we just have to do the best we can with addressing our environment. There was a comment over here from Kelly Kitty. She says, "Hi Pam, it's Dude's cat mom here in Central Florida where the pollen is so bad our white chickens are yellow." Oh my gosh, those poor chickens. Yeah, I mean it's you know what, this is just this time of year, right? So Ripple in the World over here on Instagram says, "Is you pollen really as dangerous for our fur babies as I read recently?" I don't really know I don't know that any pollen is dangerous, right? Pollen is just pollen. It's going to affect people differently depending on their health. So, I don't really have a specific answer for that question, but I would just say, just like I am sensitive to ragweed, and I'm working constantly on just my own gut health. So it helps the stronger your gut, obviously, the less reactive your body is to allergens in the air. So she says it was deadly to cats. Well, I don't know. So you have to look at the sources and like how do they know that? Like, if a cat lives in an environment and yew trees are growing, does that mean all the cats die just because they're producing pollen? I don't know. That seems to me a little extreme. Now, does what happens if the cat is covered in pollen because they're rolling around or they're climbing the trees? And I don't know what a yew tree looks like, so bear with me here. Does that mean they can get sick? Possibly. I don't really know, but it's very interesting because I've never heard of actual pollen or specific types of pollen being deadly. So that would be really interesting to go maybe do a little bit more digging on. Now, just any kind of pollen can cause some cats to really struggle with breathing, respiratory issues. Maybe they're more susceptible to sinus infections, a lot of mucus, runny nose, just general overproduction of histamine. So one of the things that you guys can do is add some kind of a milk thistle or liver support, like milk thistle with dandelion, something with milk thistle in it. Because milk thistle, one of the properties is it helps the body produce a more regular amount. Sorry, let's reword this. It helps the body mount a more normal response to histamine. So supporting the liver during this period of time that we're in is really important. And if the sooner you start it, the better, so the body can start adapting before it hits all the stress. So adding some kind of a milk thistle would be something that you can do, besides addressing like the things we talked about in your home, just helping to improve the air quality there. And there's other things that you can do as well. So maybe right now you need to add probiotics, 2, maybe 3 times a week just to help support the gut. Maybe things like vitamin C, antioxidant support. Quercetin is a great herb, and it does also help with helping manage histamine. But here's the downside with quercetin. it tastes really bad. It's really potent, really strong. It's an herb, okay? And cats, they don't like herbs too much, especially those that really taste bad. So it can be a struggle to get something like quercetin into cats. So if you have found a quercetin product that is tasteless, by all means, let me know and let us know so that we can share that, because that would be amazing. Um, so yeah, quercetin is actually known as nature's Benadryl, and that's probably where they developed the drug from, if I had to make a guess. So anyway, so those are a couple ideas for you. Just antioxidants, maybe add some turmeric, maybe vitamin C, like urinary cat, VitaCat by Feline Essential. Those are great vitamin C options. Maybe just some immune support like OxyCat by Feline Essential. That also is really, really good. Depending on the type of struggle that your cat has, if your cat is known to have viruses of some kind, and they're constantly under some kind of immune stress, something like Vira X by Feline Essential would be great to just start rotating in, maybe on the daily right now. So yeah, there's just look in your, like, we have a great shop here with lots of different immune support ideas. If you want to get some ideas, mushrooms are great to add into your cat's diet. Mushroom supplements, because mushrooms are wonderful immune modulators, which means that they help the immune system balance itself. So you could look at adding mushrooms right now. And then depending on the type of symptoms that your cat may have, um, just if you want to play around and explore homeopathy is great for a lot of different symptoms, but you have to get the symptoms pretty spot on in order to get the right remedy. So it might, depending if how new you are, and if you know how to muscle test, this goes a lot easier. You can figure out which remedy resonates with your cat's symptoms. So arsenicum is really great for if they're sneezing a lot, and they might have a little bit of runny nose with that, but just sneezing a lot in general. If they have a lot of mucus and their nose is just running and they're swallowing hard, and you can tell they have a lot of postnasal drip, look at Cali Chromium. If your cat has a lot of runny eyes with allergy symptoms like sneezing and runny nose, the eyes are the key for euphrasia. So that would be one to try. If your cat is having allergy symptoms like sneezing and such with coughing, look at trying Spongia. If your cat is struggling with nasal congestion, like really bad nasal congestion, you can look at things like Lycopodium. If they have a little bit of congestion, but they're sneezing too, maybe Natrum muraticum. So there's a lot of different remedies that you can explore. So that can be part of your holistic toolkit. Ripple into the World says, going back to the yew tree, she says it affects, the pollen of the yew tree affects their heart, and Ripple has HCM, which is heart disease. So, if that's the case, then I would just keep him away as much as you can. If he goes outside, then stay away from wherever those trees are mainly. Maybe just stay in your backyard if you don't have any of the yew trees back there. The other thing that you can do when you come in is, I know cats don't like it, but just a rinse, rinse off their fur really good, not necessarily with a wet rag. They have found that really doesn't work super well. But a rinse solution where you're actually pouring it on them and it can rinse off can be really helpful in a lot of cases. Okay, let's see. And Kelly Kitty says, dude has come a long way since he arrived from the shelter 2 years ago. Awesome. And I think what you meant is what helped initially, but now the aggression is back with a vengeance. Okay. And he hasn't been revaccinated, right? You went through the vaccine detox. He still gets aggressive. Any suggestions? You know, I'm thinking, okay, first of all, has he had any other vaccines? I don't think so, right? He hasn't. Um, that sounds to me like more anger, frustration, irritability, and they can just like act out. But that, my intuition is telling me that's more maybe anger. So, what in his environment or who might be making him angry? And the aggression that he is showing may be redirected towards you, maybe something outside. So if there is a feral cat marking and spraying outside and he smells that, it can drive cats really crazy and it can make them very upset. Um, just seeing the presence of another cat can trigger that kind of response. So I would look at what potentially is in an environment that could be triggering that emotional response. She also says he does it when I pet him for a while and he's overstimulated. Okay, well, then watch the clues that he gives you. When you start to see the tail kind of, we all know what that looks like if you've had cats for a long time and you can just tell they're irritated. That's when you just stop, right? Um, you could look at doing some emotional clearing work and see what needs to be released. Like, is there some disresonance or disharmony with you that you can release between the two of you? And what is it about being petted for so long that is overstimulating? So again, these might be more related to emotional blocks that he has stored in him. Um, And it's like, can you redirect when he starts to get irritated? Stop petting him and maybe grab his favorite toy and see if you can engage him and redirect that attention or that energy. So that's something. Oh, bless his heart. He's not giving any clues. He just attacks. He attacks me, not my husband. Okay. There's definitely some disresonance with you going on there that we could work on. Um, try There is, ooh, maybe explore some flower essences that deal with anger. And I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I kind of do, but I can't remember the name. There's one of the Bach flower remedies is, hold on a second, I'm going to find it. One is holly, and it's used for goodwill toward others. But there's another one I think I'm thinking of that's more appropriate. Let's see. Connect with others is water violet. Let me see if this one applies. No, that's not. So yeah, I think if it were my cat, I think what I would do first is is explore it energetically and see what kind of emotions are coming up, and if we can identify the stressor, the root cause. So yeah, he's obviously upset with something you're doing. And I mean, we love to cuddle with our pets, right? Our cats, you would think a cat would want to be cuddled, but maybe he's got really sensitive skin. Maybe something is off and it doesn't feel good for some reason. And of course, our cats think that we should be able to read their minds because we're mind readers, right? Um, so they get upset when we don't respond in a way that they want us to respond, or do stop what's irritating them, but we don't know what's irritating them. So yes, yes, I can do that with you offline. Absolutely. So definitely something we can explore with services for that. Um, but I would start there because then it's not a guessing game. That's why I love the whole energy frequency side. we can really narrow down our focus and get some specific targeted answers from an energetic perspective. Um, and that way, um, you can peel back layers a whole lot faster. Like, what do we got to let go of? What needs addressed? With cats, especially when they come from shelters, they have a history. Okay, so and sometimes they have a bigger history than others. So it's like peeling the layers of an onion. We just have to keep peeling the layers back. You peel one back, you address that, you kind of get everything in harmony, you give it some time, and then it's time to let's check it out. Let's peel another layer back. What else needs to come out this, or what needs to be released now or dressed? So, okay, let me go over here to Stephanie says, I missed the episode about cats with yeast issues and cannot find a video label for that. What was the video relabeled? That was a podcast with Michael at the Pet's Journey. It should be on our my YouTube channel under the Pet's Journey. That's the playlist it would be under. So let me find it for you. The Pet's Journey. Let me see if I can get the list. It's called Does Your Cat Have a Yeast Issue? And it was streamed on February 18th. It's under the Pet's Journey playlist under the Perfectly Holistic YouTube channel. So, yeah. Kayla Kitty says, yeah, he had a horrible history with a failed first home, drugs. Oh, bless his heart. Yeah, so I suspect there's probably another layer there that is ready to come to be released. So that's why that happens. They give us clues. We have to be really good detectives. And it may be related to something that happened a long time ago before you were even in the picture. So yeah. And Bonnie says, hi. Hi, Bonnie. Lots of love to Prince and Jasper. Let's see, what else? One of my cats just came over here. Where'd she go? Oh, she's gone already, so I guess she's not going to say hi. Okay, so, and let me just take a second since you brought up the podcast with Michael. I'm doing a weekly show. It's an hour and a half long on Tuesday nights. It's from 8 to 9:30 Central Time. And we go over lots of different topics. We've had about 2 months worth of shows already. So if you want to go explore the topics that we've already covered, just go to, again, my YouTube channel, Perfectly Holistic, and look at under the playlist, The Pet's Journey. And we're always looking for topic ideas. So if there's something that you want us to bring up and discuss, let us know, because we're just here to support the cat community. And all of you guys, you're amazing cat parents who want to learn how to do better, right? That's why we're here. Love is, how are you? She says, thank you for doing these live streams. Can you recommend any really good quality wet food for cats? Yes, I absolutely can. I have a list I've put together. Current brands that I would feed my own cats. Wet food would include the brand Waruva, Roz, Nulo, Casix, Feline Natural, Koa, Instinct, Tender and True, Identity, Karu, and Fussy Cat with goat's milk. Their goat's milk line. Possibly their bone broth line. I haven't looked at that in depth because my cats like the one with the goat's milk. It's mainly for Aylin. I don't get the original one, the original line, because their fish recipes have carrageenan, and I'm not convinced that it's good. So yeah, I don't get anything with carrageenan in it. Just to be safe, this company states left and right every year at Super Zoo that it's it's a high quality carrageenan and it's not harmful and blah 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 blah. But until I know for sure, because I know that carrageenan has been linked to GI irritation and gut irritation, um, and in some cases carcinogenic. So I'm not willing to try that. You know what I mean? So does that give you some ideas for the wet foods? And she says, where can I find that list? Email me. Email me, Pam at Perfectly Holistic, and I'm happy to share that. This is just brands that I have either met the people behind the brand at trade shows. I've looked at their, oh, sorry, Aylin, don't, sorry, she's going to knock the light over. Aylin, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Don't hit the lamp. Don't, no, 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 no. Oh, the joys of live streaming. Um, Cats, come here. Get over here. Thank you. Come here. Come say hi. Come say hi. Here she goes. Okay. This is a better spot for you. Yes, this is better. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say, my name is Aylin. Okay, she's mama's girl. Okay, where was I? Oh, okay. So the list, the brands, some of them are on Susan Thixton's list that she verifies and checks all of that on a very, very, very detailed basis. A lot of those brands they use really high quality ingredients. They take care. They really what's really important to them is the quality of the food, the ingredients, the sourcing, how the animals are treated, that sort of thing. So yeah, so that's where I kind of compile this list, and there's ebbs and flows. So brands get bought by investment companies and they come off my list because I can't guarantee that they're going to maintain the same set of standards. Because typically whatever happens when after investment companies would buy brands, their goal is to their shareholders. Their priority is to make money for their shareholders for these companies. So in the beginning, they might keep the recipe the same, but over time, they don't even notify people that they're changing their recipe, they're changing the quality of their sourcing, and they start to cut costs because, again, they're in it to make the money. So you just got to be careful, and you got to know who owns the brand, who's behind it, and what they're putting into their food. So yeah, but that's my current wet food list. And again, like I said, it changes. I've taken brands off the list because I don't like what I see in their ingredient list. Levis says, I haven't heard anything good about carrageenan. I know, and everything I've read says don't feed it to your cats and don't feed it to yourself. Don't eat it, don't put it in their food. So I'm not. I took it out. Okay. And I want to say hi to Pearly Girl over here on Instagram. How are you? All right, let's see. What else? Levis says, I know what you're saying. Pepsi recently bought Siete, which had pretty good organic, healthy items. Yeah, they did. It will be interesting to see what happens now, you just don't know. And I understand, like, some of the brands, they take some investment money, they take some, some funds because they want to grow their brand and distribution and things like that. And, the real world, that takes money. So I understand why it's done. And I'm not saying that in all cases it's bad, but you gotta pay attention, and you just gotta be aware. You definitely don't want to get caught off guard with, like 2 years down the road and their ingredient panel has changed and now it has something that you would never want to feed your cat, and you've been feeding it for a year because you didn't know it changed. So it's always a good habit to keep checking those labels. So buy yourself a really good magnifier because a lot of times that print is very small, right? And so yeah, we have to be aware. That's all it is. And if you guys are interested in getting the list from Susan Thixton's website, Truth About Pet Food, I still need to order that myself. I've been delayed. But yeah, check it out. She's done a lot of research. She sets a very high standard for brands who want to be included on her list, and they don't get to pay for that spot. They have to be approved, and they have to submit a ton of documentation every single year to make the cut. So yeah, it's a good investment if you want to kind of know some good brands who kind of pass the muster that she sets the bar really high. So yeah, check it out, Truth About Pet Food, and get the list. Okay, so Karen says, how do you feel about the gums in food, like guar gum, xanthan gum? I'm not a big fan. Two that you really have to watch out for are agar, and carrageenan. Those are linked to GI issues. They tend to be more in the seafood formulations, but not always. So you just got to look. I understand that wet food is the easiest, and cats are used to that, right? Most cats love wet food. But if we can transition our cats to even fresher foods, gently cooked foods, raw food diets, it's even better for them. Wet food still goes through a lot of processing and a lot of heat processing over and over again. So you are going to get advanced glycation end products in canned food. It's just part of the process. Some of the brands that are like really good are actually gently cooking them in the Tetra Paks. This is what Karu does. So there is a difference in the processing process, if you will, for a lot of the wet foods. So just explore different things. This is what I'm saying. Yeah, but if you can get your cat off of canned food, great. Or mix it in, like minimize that as to the degree that you can. And actually, what was really shocking to me when I was doing a lot more learning about the fresh feeding and things like that is the cost of cans has gone up so much over the last several years. It makes buying canned food a lot more financially challenging because it's gotten so expensive. And so the cost per ounce of fresh and raw food tends to be less in a lot of cases than buying the cans. So something to think about, especially the high quality cans. I'm not talking as much about grocery store level cans, which I wouldn't feed my cat. I wouldn't feed a stray cat grocery store canned food, just because I don't like the ingredients in them and the sourcing. So Stephanie says, I took my kitty off the raw because I'm nervous about the bird flu. Thinking about getting it and cooking it though. Here's the thing. There was a lot of fear porn that went out after, I think it was the state of Oregon, made the statement that the cat who died from bird flu got it from the raw food that they were eating. And it turns out that was not true. And they have since reshared that was not the case. They did not share the true picture and the true story about that cat and what he had access to. So yeah, I have not taken my cats off raw food. I won't take them off raw food. If your cat is healthy and they're eating a commercial raw food, I will tell you the raw food industry has a zero tolerance for pathogens in their food. The human food industry does not. They allow up to 20 or 25% pathogenic material in our meat products and things like that because they know we're going to cook it. Okay, so the pet food industry, zero tolerance. Okay, so pathogens, bacteria, things like that. If your cat is healthy and you want to feed them fresh food, feed them fresh food. There's very little risk of them getting the bird flu. And the bird flu actually has been around for years. Look it up. And it's nothing new. It's just a cycle, and it affects more of the outside, in some areas, birds and their environments, and whatever. Um, it's nothing new. And if we would just leave things alone, nature kind of figures its way out of those cycles without us getting involved and killing off a bunch of birds. It actually kind of makes it worse, from something I was reading about in terms of all the chickens and stuff that were culled, which is heartbreaking to me. Um, but yeah, you can take any raw food and gently cook it. Absolutely, not a problem. Even your raw food brands that, are sold frozen or whatever, just defrost them and gently cook them on a very low heat for like 5 to 10 minutes. And it's just enough to kind of warm it up. And that's great. You can always do that. Okay. Got some more people over here on Instagram. Do you guys have any questions on Instagram? Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody over here. Okay, Kelly Kitty says, I also buy local free-range beef and chicken, including organ meat. I cook it gently with broccoli, ground eggshells, and ground sunflower seeds. Dude loves it, and he's entirely physically healthy. That's awesome. I mean, once they get used to that fresh recipe, that fresh taste, they really do like it. It can take a little patience, like with everything. But once they get it and they will eat that, it's so great for them. I am so grateful that my kids will eat the raw. Um, I just feel better because it's not processed. It's not, it's minimally processed. Whatever they have to do to chop it up and put it in a package, right? But it's not heated. It's not. There's not a bunch of crap added to it. There's not the thickeners and the fillers and things like that, right, Aylin? Um, so yeah, I love that. And if you're gonna do your own recipes, make sure you're following a balanced recipe so that your cat gets all of the nutrients it's required, and we're not just hodgepodging recipes. I have people ask me that sometimes too, so keep that in mind. Um, does anybody else have any questions? Because we will. I'll be here for a few more minutes, and then we're going to wrap things up. So I did talk about the Pets Journey podcast. Let me see what else is coming up next week. Hold on, let me look before I lie. I don't remember the dates exactly. April. Okay, so not next week, 2 weeks from today, I'm doing another live event with Julianne Hart with Naturally Cats, but it's going to be in the afternoon. It's going to be 1 o'clock Central Time. So that would be 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain Time if you're over in the UK. We're going to be talking about overwhelm and getting stuck as a pet parent, as a cat parent. If you get paralyzed with fear of trying something different, of whatever, if your cat is very sick and you're just kind of on this hamster wheel and can't get off, we're going to be talking about that topic and helping people find ways to move out of that stuck paradigm into action, to do try something different to get some different results. So that should be a really good show. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? So Karen, did that answer your question? I didn't cover all the gums, but I know that a lot of pet food companies use them in canned food. Now here's a couple that don't. So Ross does not. And I want to say Karu does not. I want to say that Identity, I can't remember if Identity does or if it's just one. I know it's minimal, which is awesome. But there are some brands out there that don't use the thickeners, which is awesome. Yeah, because some of them will put like 2 or 3 different thickeners in the same recipe. I'm like, wow, that's a lot, when you think about it. But you know what? Here's the reality is, A wet diet is better than dry food any day of the week. So if you have to feed the canned food, just know that your cat is getting a moisture-rich diet, which is so much better for their longevity. And so, better than dry food any day of the week. But if you can just find ways to add, some cool freeze-dried toppers or chunks or pieces of something fresh into their foods, whether that's organ meat or pieces of meat or um, things like sardines or eggs or something like that. Just whatever we can do to kind of give them a little bit of variety or exposure to something different, especially if they like your human food. Absolutely feed them some human food as long as it's not like deep fried stuff. It's really terrible. Um, so, yeah, Karen says, I have been avoiding food with it. Yeah. Kella says, how do you feel about freeze dried with bone broth added? I think that's great. Freeze dried food that's rehydrated with bone broth is excellent. The only downside of freeze dried food is it is the most costly of all the types of foods on the market for cats and dogs. Just because the freeze drying process is so expensive and the equipment that they have to use for it is so expensive. So I love it. If you can afford to do it, great. I actually do have freeze dried recipes on hand, and I just use it either as treats or I crumble it on top of their food and use it as toppers. And that works great too. That way, I'm not having to use as much at one time. But yeah, it is a little spendy for sure. Love is says, oh, wait, hold on. Kayla Kitty says, we got a brand called Northwest Naturals. I love Northwest Naturals. They have some great recipes, and I actually use them from time to time. So great company. Absolutely. Love says, is there one supplement you would recommend for feeding wet food? A digestive enzyme. I think that any cat, really almost any cat, no matter what they're eating, would benefit from digestive enzymes. My favorite, hi Jay Kennedy, speaking of digestive enzymes, I was just to say Catalyst. Catalyst is my favorite just because it's liquid and it's like a quarter teaspoon, which is probably like 4 drops or something. So easy to add into the wet food. They don't even know it's there, but it has so many benefits to helping digestion and metabolism and breaking down and assimilating their foods at all ages. So definitely that would be a go-to for that. Love says, my vet does not approve of freeze dried. Time to get a new vet. Your vet doesn't know about all the benefits of freeze dried. No, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. I do sell Catalyst. Catalyst is in our shop.perfectlyholistic.com. It's under digestive support. So yeah, check that out. Let's see. Karen says, do you think it's okay to feed freeze-dried, not rehydrated once in a while? Yeah, absolutely, because that's what I do for treats for my kids. So, yeah, the brand I'm currently using for freeze-dried is a Simple Food Project, and they're just little pellets, and so we play a game, and I literally just throw them on the floor, and they go run and chase after them, and it's like almost hide and seek, but no, it's not hide and seek. It's like fetch. So yeah, especially the 2 young ones. That's what we do at night. We play that game in the kitchen, and so they go crazy trying to go and run after the treat, and they eat it, and then I throw them another one in another direction just to keep them moving. And so I make it more of it's a fun time. But great if you want to leave out a few morsels at night. If your cat needs a little snack in the middle of the night instead of waking you up, leave a little freeze dried out. And I haven't used them in a long time, but I have them. Are those little indoor hunting feeding system with the little mice that you can put the freeze dried treats inside, and you can open the openings like different amounts, so that makes it harder or easier for them to bat the mouse around and the treats come out. So you can just be creative and find ways for stimulating your cat to go hunting. They're little freeze-dried treats. Levis says she doesn't approve of raw food either. Well, I would assume that, if she doesn't like freeze-dried, she's not going to like raw. She probably doesn't know about the zero tolerance for pathogens in commercial pet food. They typically don't. Um, Levis says, "Do you hydrate the treats?" No, no, I don't. I just throw them on the ground. they're just they're just that. It's just like a treat, but it's a freeze dried, complete and balanced recipe. Now you don't have to use a freeze dried, complete and balanced recipe. You can go get a single ingredient treat that's made from a reputable company, not Greenies or Temptations, guys. Um, but look for single ingredient like liver, salmon, whitefish, heart. There's so many different options. Even minnows, freeze dried minnows are great. They're great treats. You don't have to hydrate these things. You just either put them on their plate, put them as a topper, or use them as treats. Hide them in different places and let them go. Let them go hunt them. What do I think about the Feliway diffuser? I've tried them in the past. One of the things that was brought to mind and brought to my attention years ago by a holistic vet when that subject came up was the the stuff in the diffuser is synthetic. So it's synthetic chemicals. And I'm not a fan of synthetic chemicals. So I don't really promote the Feliway diffuser for that reason. Now, it's not to say that you can't use it because, there's options out there. Um, but that's just my personal choice. I don't want any chemicals like that in my environment. So what you can try instead are flower essences. Um, and then address the root cause of the behavior. So if it's fear, if it's anger, um, if it's redirected aggression, like what is going on? Is it multiple cats in the house home and territory issues and dominance and things like that? So this is where energy work can really come into play, and it can be very, very helpful in resolving all these different personalities and emotions that contribute to problems like that, where you would use a Feliway diffuser. Color therapy is another favorite of mine for just calming, depending on what's going on. Color can help, crystals can help, herb gardens with little piles of different herbs can help. There's so many great ways to help diffuse a situation, if I can use that term. So, yeah, does that help you? Um, Levis's Feliway has never helped any of the cats I've had. Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss. Some cats respond to it, and some cats don't. So yeah, just put that in the back of your mind if something comes up and you think, oh yeah, I learned that about the Feliway thing. But again, you don't be afraid to try something if it's working like that. I think you know you have to pick your battles, if that makes sense. There's just a lot of things that we can choose from, and I just make different choices. That's all. It's not that it's good or bad. You know what I'm saying? It just depends on what's important. What's the biggest priority for you, and what's most important for you. So that's kind of where I would go with that. Um, yeah. So you are welcome, Kelly Kitty. Okay. Well, guys, I think we are going to close things down. I need to go rescue my cats who are outside in the backyard chasing bugs, and make sure that they are behaving themselves and bring them in because it's starting to get dark. So, anyway, this is fun. If you guys have questions, if you want to look at doing any kind of services for cats, I have some wonderful providers for animal communication, for Reiki, mind, body, spirit release. So, we have a lot of different things that we can help with for cat parents and for cats as well. So check out our shop.perfectlyholistic.com. And if you're not on our email list, go over to our website, join our community. perfectlyholistic.com. And we don't spam you or anything like that, but you can stay in the know on what's coming up event wise. And we do a newsletter every Friday, just so that you can stay connected with us, and specials and promotions and things like that as well that we share for our followers. So with that said, I think I'm going to call it a night. I wish you guys a great rest of April. Happy Easter if you celebrate that. Have a great rest of your week, and look for our upcoming events in a couple Thursdays from now. So until then, y'all stay healthy and give your cats a big kiss from me, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.